Now, one of the interesting things I found, panel, was that 61% of respondents' facilities spend more on a project up front to ensure longevity and then have less upgrades in the future. Now, are you seeing this within your industry, or are you finding that companies are more wanting to spend less and then spend a bit more later on when the money starts coming in?
Well, we find that our clients are wanting to get engaged much earlier in the process in order to save in the long term, and they're looking at solutions that would save them money in the long term and avoid risk.
From what I can see, there's a definite squeeze on cash flow, so what you see is a bit of deferment of cost. The operators are looking for new solutions, but I'm not seeing that manifesting itself into the supply chain at the moment.
So you're not seeing that the money spent is being moved particularly one way or the other? Okay,
No.
How about you, Anthony?
I think it's very difficult to justify increased expenditure now to save costs later in the current market, because there is a lot of squeeze on capex. So, you know, if anything, we've seen the same at best, and I haven't really seen a trend towards increased expenditure up front to save money later.
So it is an interesting thing, because I mean the only reason I could think that you might want to have capex is because of where it sits on the balance sheet, that therefore it's an asset and so it sits elsewhere and isn't necessarily therefore seen as a cost on, say, EBITDA line. But you're not seeing what our respondents have said as far as that goes then?
Exactly. With reduced revenues across the board, you know, the focus is on the bottom line, so it's today's expenditures is to be as minimum as possible to save that. I think there is a desire from everybody to be efficient with their expenditure and to move expenditure to later in the cycle, but it's just very difficult to justify at this stage.
And how about you, Brennan?
I have seen on bigger developments and more developments for long term, like big greenfield developments, so to speak, that they are focusing a lot on, even if it costs them a little bit more upfront, on the long run they need to see how much it's going to cost them. But for like brownfield and some smaller investments or some tiebacks, I have seen what I just mentioned of really limiting your expenditure now or deferring some expenditures to the last minute possible so it doesn't hurt their cash flow.
Yeah, and is there kind of a banking on seeing, say, the crude oil price coming back up? Is that something that they're thinking, well, if we can see it through the next 18 to 24 months, then things will get better?
Correct. I see some of that as well, and more on how can we make it viable at this moment, right? They will move forward if the price is right.
And I think you have to realise that the operators are also competing for cash internally. So a lot of the cash has been moved to onshore, as an example, less for the offshore environment. So the projects themselves are having to compete for less cash. So they need to be a little bit different and need to be a bit more clever on how they apply for that cash so that they can get the capex into the system. So it's quite a complex issue at the moment.
Are you finding that there is a requirement for every last penny to be saved if possible?
I don't think it's the operators that are driving the costs down on the supply chain, it's the suppliers themselves. Every major contractor and every supplier to the major contractor has an initiative to reduce costs, and that cost reduction has been pushed through the supply chain back to the operators, and that's what I'm seeing. That's what's happening. I'm sure Trelleborg, Technip, McDermott, Subsea 7, EMAS, Geoda, Subsea, all of these companies are basically trying to reduce costs, reduce the price point for the client, and then pass it through to the client. And that's the uptake at the moment, and it's been squeezed very hard.
And EMAS, Geoda, we are seeing pressure from operators to reduce costs. So it may be a little bit different in the subsea construction industry, but we do see that pressure. And of course, we pass it on. You know, we're in competitive situations with our suppliers and partnering more, I think, with both our operators, clients, and our suppliers.
Yeah, I don't think any operator would turn down a cost saving, no matter how large it is, because they're tiered, so everyone is purchasing teams and they all have targets and KPIs to hit. So over the course of a project, they may add up to significant savings. I think the difficulty is if you approach someone and you say, if you spend 5 million now, you can save 50 million over 10 years. It's just a very, very difficult argument to be able to demonstrate that value to a client, because the bottom line means they have to spend $5 million now. And it might be very difficult, no matter how much they want to, it might be very difficult for them to justify it.
Yeah, I've definitely been seeing our clients and operators squeezing everything that mostly possible can. So even if it's like a half a percentage point, 0.1% percent savings on their bottom line, they're definitely all over it. I've been having even disputes or squeezes on final costs, you know, not questioning, but just trying to understand even expenditures to the level of the few $1,000 level. So definitely I'm seeing this big drive for reducing, even if it's little by little at the end, it might add up and become something somewhat significant.